So it's quite a few weeks that I've been reading about a method of learning called the Trivium. Mm, I think it can be interesting enough to have a framework, a kind of framework to know how to learn things and basically not stay brain dead in the face of content and just like watching or reading it once and never remembering it again or never being able to use it can be frustrating. And I know the frustration that it can cause. So I think the Trivium can be a great method for that. So basically, for those who don't know, the Trivium is uh, a method consisting of three domains, which gets back to, I think, the Middle Ages or something like that. So basically, the three domains are grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And they are usually presented in this order. So basically, grammar is having the foundational knowledge, not only the foundational knowledge, but also the basic structure and yes, the foundational knowledge, the foundational words can be applied. For example, if you try to learn a new field, you first have to deconstruct the field. So with questions like who, what, when, and where, you can deconstruct the domain and being able to better attack this new knowledge. So by asking the questions who, what, when, and where, they allow you to diminish the anxiety that comes with learning new things and delving in a new domain. And also better your ability to pinpoint things that you want to learn. So let's take, for example, history of a specific person. I don't know, I don't know, Donald Trump or something. So if you want to learn about him, maybe you can ask the question in the grammar stage: who is he? What is he? What has he done in his life? What profession did he have before becoming president or something like that? When did he become president? And where did he study? You see, I think you start to get it, things like that. Not just trying to front and learn, yes, Donald Trump, but what are you going to learn about him? Can also apply to specific fields like, for example, computer science or those who are in programming. You select a specific language or you start to ask, what is programming? What is language? You deconstruct the subject and then you can further deconstruct those little subjects into smaller subjects and etc. But I think you got the point. That if you don't understand, you can still ask me a question in the comments. But then you have the stage of logic. Logic is then the next stage in which you're supposed to apply dialectics. So applies ways of reasoning to the information that you accumulated in the grammar stage. So you can use the basic laws of logic, which are the law of non-contradiction. Okay, you cannot have A and not A. You have the law of identity, which is A equal A. A is itself. And then you have the law of excluded middle. So you cannot have it's whether it's either A or not A. So by applying these foundational laws and basic fallacies like the ad hominem, the straw man, etc., I think you can find it on the internet. You can just find a list on the internet. But basically, with these tools, you can eliminate contradictions since in reality, in truth does not, cannot oppose itself. So reality is ordered in a way that be, multiple truths don't act against each other. That's a very important thing to keep in mind. And then you have the example of, rather, the domain of rhetoric, which is the third way. So basically, rhetoric is concerned with how things are presented. I also forgot to mention it, but logic, the basic question of logic is why. So the why, which explores the interconnection, the contradiction, and the conjunction, etc. So rhetoric is concerned with the how things are presented. So it has three, not three basic domains, but when you're supposed to present a certain text, you're supposed to use what is called the three appeals. So ethos, logos, and pathos. Ethos being by starting your presentation, your text, etc., by establishing who you are, your character. That you have to prove to the audience that basically they can trust you with the information or the debate. So that's usually where you establish your credential, etc. Then you have the logos. The logos part is where you use logic and arguments that are sound and valid to express truth that you think are important. Basically, the part where you try to convince your audience or of some point. And then you have the ethos part. So you end your text or your speech by trying to make an emotional appeal. Obviously, not the emotional appeal that is not justified. But human beings are, in order to convince human beings, you have to use emotion, basically. And you also have to yourself believe in your cause. Because there are basically three ways things can go wrong. First, you don't use pathos, so you don't establish your character. So basically, nobody is going to believe you because we don't trust you, right? And the second error will be to not use logos. You can convince people, but basically you'll be a demagogue. You will be manipulating people and then you'll get exposed, which is not what we want, right? And then you have when you don't use pathos. It may be interesting for some people, but human beings still need to have their emotion acknowledged, right? So that's why all the three of them are important. Obviously, there is much more to say about the trivium, but maybe if you're interested, I can make a follow-up or part two. In the meanwhile, stay tuned.